right, Leonard Skinner's Simple Man That Can Only Mean One Thing on this radio program. That's all things self-proclaimed simple man. That means all things Bill O'Reilly, all things Bill O'Reilly at BillO'Reilly.com. Bill O'Reilly is like the best-selling author in the modern era, and he spends an awful lot of time writing his books, and I've read most of them. And I think this may be one of his best. And it is released as of today. It's called Confronting Evil, Assessing the Worst of the Worst. It's on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores now around the country. I hate to start off a non-cupcake interview telling you the book is really good, and I really enjoyed it, and it's a very serious topic that needs to be discussed. I wrote a book about evil myself in 2004, and you bring it is really ripped out of the pages of today's headlines. Congratulations. I'm sure this will be destined to be a number one bestseller in the New York Times, even though the New York Times hates to put your name up at the top every time.
Well, number one, thank you for reading the book. I know how busy you are. Number two, I'm glad you liked it. Number three, the New York Times put me at number one 19 times, so this would be 20 if it makes it. Got some tough competition. Charlie Sheen smoking crack or whatever he's doing, I don't know.
There's some real tough competition there, Bill.
People like that stuff, though. I don't know why. But we wake up this morning, I don't know about you, but I was just stunned that the Russian government and Putin would send missiles and drones into Poland. I went, for what reason on earth would you do that? There's no strategic way to do it. There's no reason. And you're just taunting the whole world, Putin is. And Putin's on the cover of my book. And then
I can tell you what Putin is doing. Putin he did it on purpose. He did it to watch the mobilization of NATO and to see the reaction so that they can then prepare for any future conflict. Do I think that's his desire at the moment? I don't, but I wouldn't put anything past him for the very reason that you go into great depth in your book about is that evil exists. You know, I was going to start the interview a different way, and then I would dovetail into the evil that you talk about at length and great specificity, because evil does exist. If you look at the last century alone, and you touch on this in the book, you have everywhere from Stalin and the former Soviet Union, Mao and Hitler, and Mussolini and Tojo in Japan. In that century, over 100 million souls, we calculate, were murdered because of evil regimes. Evil does exist. You see it on a micro level. The front page of the New York Post the other day had a story about how, 68 criminals committed 5,000 crimes and only 5 of the 68 are in jail. We see the death of the subway and the video of this young Ukrainian woman who's just looking at her phone, and this guy just bludgeons this poor girl to death. The front cover of the New York Post today, headline, tortured for 5 hours, career criminal invades a Queens home, kills, burns the parents of FDNY paramedics. And I can keep going. I think it's very hard for genuinely good people to wrap their mind around the fact that evil does exist. It does exist. You can't do these things to innocent people. You can't bludgeon a girl to death. You can't be targeting civilians like Putin has been without an evil component to it. And that is a reality that I think is very hard for people to understand. Do you find the same? Do you come to the same conclusion?
I think the decline of religion and theology, particularly in the United States and Western Europe, has added to that. So when I was being raised, because my father was in World War II in the Pacific Theater, I didn't have any trouble accepting good and evil because the nuns pounded it into my head that, there's Satan and you'll be tempted, and if you sin, you're going to go to a bad place. But if you choose the road to good, and you help people, then you will be rewarded. I had no trouble with that, and neither did any of my urchin classmates at St. Bridget's School on Long Island. But now, with the decline of this, where everything's relative. Now, let me give you two very vivid examples that are relevant to where we are today. This is 9/11 week. I have Ayatollah Khomeini on the cover of Confronting the Evil, along with Putin, Mao, and Hitler. There would not have been a 9/11. There would not have been worldwide terror, two wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, if not for the Ayatollah Khomeini being accepted by the Persian people. They accepted him. The Russian people are accepting Putin. He has killed and wounded more than 1 million Russians for nothing. He is on the verge of starting a horrific conflict, and the Russian people are accepting it. In Chicago, the state and city of Chicago and the state of Illinois is accepting thousands of murders of poor people on the South Side, mostly done by drug gangs. The judge in North Carolina who let this guy out, even though he was mentally ill, schizophrenic, 14 arrests, she let him out to kill this girl, okay? She accepted it. And I don't know whether you caught up with this, but I said earlier this week, and I got attacked on social media vehemently, because when you...
About Mamdani? I was going to get to that.
Right. When you attack evil, as you know, Hannity and O'Reilly know this better than anyone, because we've been in this arena now for almost 30 years. When you attack evil, evil attacks back. And there are no rules for them. None. And I've experienced it, Hannity's experienced it, other people have experienced it. But I said that in New York City, if you pull a lever and vote for Mamdani, you are doing an evil act. You may not be evil yourself, but Mamdani has told everyone quite clearly he doesn't want to incarcerate criminals. He wants them out on the street. And everybody knows if he's elected, more miscreants and violent people will flood the streets of New York City, leading to more murders, rapes, assault. And you're voting for that? You are committing an evil act by doing so. Now, I'm sorry. That's as blunt as I can make it. I cannot make it any more vivid than that. But again, it's the individual American, the individual Russian, the individual Persian, the individual Palestinian. If you're going to accept evil, bad things are going to follow.
Let me ask you this. Many, many years ago, I read a document. It was more of a pamphlet. It was, maybe 30, 40, 50 pages. I don't recall. And it was called The Synthesis of Russian Mind Control Techniques. We have video of the Germans in massive crowds, Bill, Heil Hitler, and they are praising a mass murderer. I mean, even to this day, there are Nazi apologists out there, which is insane to me, because any minor perusal of history will show you that Hitler, in every way, shape, manner, and form, it was evil. And we have the images from the death camps when people were finally rescued and they were emaciated. And I'm not sure what part of systemic murder that people don't understand, but that's for a different day. We have images of, you mentioned Ayatollah Khomeini, when he came out of exile after the death of the Shah of Iran, and you would see massive crowds, people beating themselves bloody to prove to the Ayatollah just how loyal they were going to be to whatever dictates, mandates that he put on them. So there is this mass hypnosis aspect to all of this that is very, very real, especially when you're talking about evil on a mass level.
I have a little bit of a different take on it. I think it's a choice. So in 1934, Hindenburg died in Germany. He was a president. Adolf Hitler was the chancellor, second in command. As soon as Hindenburg was in the ground, there was an election, a plebiscite. Yes or no? We, the German people, confer total power on Adolf Hitler. That means he's a dictator. 90% of the German population voted yes. And the horror then began in earnest. The largest ethnic group in the United States are German Americans. There's no difference. The German people chose evil. They chose it. Now, you can get into psychology. You can get into, well, they were starving in the Great Depression and the Treaty of Versailles. You can get into all of that. But we are put on this planet, I believe this firmly as a Christian, a Judeo-Christian philosophy. We have to make a choice somewhere along the line. And what is happening in America, and this distresses me greatly, and this is why I wrote the book, Confronting Evil, is that many of us are turning away. We just won't make the judgments. We're creating a bubble world where our cell phones and sports betting or whatever it may be dominates our lives. And we don't want to pay attention to Putin or the South Side of Chicago or the woman on the Charlotte bus. It's too unpleasant. We don't want to look at drug dealing in the streets. We don't want to see what Mexico has done, allowed the cartels to take over the entire country. And we're supposed to sit there and let these drug dealers kill hundreds of thousands of Americans, which they have, and do nothing? And then we have politicians on the progressive side. And believe me, the progressive left aids evil. And you know me, I'm not an ideological guy. I don't push a Republican Party. I don't push conservative doctrine. I never do that.
It's common sense, Bill. Let me go a little deeper into this choice factor that you have here, because you're right. People do have choices. There were many people that fled Germany as the Hitler regime was emerging, and they saw the virulent anti-Semitism. They saw what was about to occur. They fled. They got out. They departed. They said, enough is enough. This is not. We're not gonna put up with this. Then there were other people, and their lives are governed by fear. Now, we'll go into more detail in the next half hour, but just give me a headline about the fear factor that causes people to abandon every bit of common sense they were born with.
That's true. People are afraid. The people on the bus in Charlotte, once they saw the knife in the guy's hand, were afraid. That's true. But it isn't the overriding factor. Hitler wrote a book called Mein Kampf. That book was required reading in many German schools. It laid out the fact that this man thought that certain people on this earth should not exist, the Jews, the gypsies, the homosexuals, the communists. He wrote it down. Just like Mandani looks into the camera and goes, I'm going to take $1 billion away from the New York City Police Department.
People are going to accuse you of comparing Mamdani to Hitler. Are you ready for that attack? And you're not doing that, but they're going to accuse you of that.
To Hitler, and anybody that make that attack would be dishonest, but of course they will. I'm saying
everybody's dishonest. But what you're saying is, if you're voting for somebody that is going to institute policies that will result in predictable death, then you're making a really dumb, dangerous choice. And you're accepting evil views that literally will result in death, because he will not enforce laws. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Bill O'Reilly's with us. We're going to keep him for the hour. He's launching his new book right here on this show today. It's called Confronting Evil, Assessing the Worst of the Worst. We'll get into more of the details in the book. It's on Hannity.com, Amazon.com. Now in bookstores all around the country. I strongly urge you to get a copy of it. Quick break, right back.
The golden years are back.
Make America great again.
Hang on, it's gonna be fun. Sean Hannity 2025 is on right now.
Listen, everybody needs, we're talking about evil. It does exist. You got to protect yourself. You got to protect your family. That's where Simply Safe Home Security comes in. Now, some security systems are reactive, but the thing I love about Simply Safe, they've been with us nearly a decade, is they are always advancing their technology. They are proactive. You know, what good is it if an alarm will blare after an intruder trips a sensor inside of your house? Okay, he's already in the house. That means trouble is right before you, or a monitoring agent will call to make sure you're safe after the perpetrator's inside of your house. That is the problem with most home security systems. That's what makes Simply Safe different. They are designed specifically to be proactive. They've now added their Active Guard outdoor protection. They have smart AI-powered cameras. In other words, they will be able to identify threats lurking outside of your home. Immediately, they will alert Simply Safe's professional live monitoring agents. Those agents can intervene in real time. Sir, you in the face mask and the New York Yankees hat, you are trespassing. Police are on the way. They can talk to them in real time, put on spotlights in real time. They can call the police in real time. And likely that will, in all likelihood, that'll scare these people away, and they won't even get near your windows or doors. Anyway, the thing about Simply Safe right now, you'll get 50% off your new Simply Safe home security system. It has a 60-day unconditional money-back guarantee, no contract to sign. They believe they earn your business every day by keeping you safe. SimplySafe.com/Hannity, 50% off, because there's no safe like Simply Safe. More with Bill O'Reilly on the other side.
Continuing the mission of saving America as we return to the Sean Hannity Show.
All right, 25 now till the top of the hour. 24 years ago tomorrow, 9/11/01 happened. All of us remember that day. You remember where you were when you first heard about it. You remember watching those towers. You remember watching the Pentagon, the field in Pennsylvania, all of it. Well, as a result, Frank Siller, who's a great guy, I did an interview with him on my podcast. It's on foxnation.com. He lost his brother that day. And that led to the foundation of the Tunnel to Towers that he created. And what they do every single day, their mission is to never forget what happened 24 years ago tomorrow. And I'll give you an example of what they do. They help make a lasting difference in the lives of real heroes like the Clark family. U.S. Air Force Technical Sergeant Jesse Clark's military service, it came to an end after a chemical exposure caused a very large tumor to form in his brain. As a result, he's paralyzed on the left side of his body. He's legally blind. He's prone to memory loss. He's in a wheelchair, sadly, for the rest of his life. But friends like you, your generosity, your compassion, your kindness, you were able to help the Tunnel to Towers Foundation build this hero a new smart home to help him live a more independent life. And so many more families like the Clarks need your help. Now, since the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, was founded after 9/11/01, again, 24 years ago tomorrow, America's heroes, they have given so much for our liberty, our freedom, things we take for granted every single day. And this is the best way to say thank you in a lasting and meaningful way. The way this really works, and Frank went into great specificity, great detail into this. The way this works is if you can commit to $11 a month, that is the sweet spot for the foundation to continue the good work they do every single day. Please join us, partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Go to their website. The letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org, the letter T, the number 2, the letter T.org. And what happened is evil. We continue now. Bill O'Reilly is with us. He's just released his new book today, and it's on Hannity.com if you want to get your copy there, Amazon.com. We can go to bookstores now all around the country and pick one up today and start reading it. I think it's a must read. I think people do need to have a better understanding of the world that we live in. There is good, there is evil. The book is called Confronting Evil and Assessing the Worst of the Worst. Let's talk about, Bill, if we can, because evil has existed. One of the things you said, which I thought was pretty interesting to me and caught my attention, the concept of evil is universal. The concept of evil is ancient. The concept of evil is ever present today, which we discussed in the last half hour. It is real. And then you go through a lot of the history of this: Caligula, Henry VIII, slave traders, Stalin, Hitler, Mao, the Ayatollah, Vladimir Putin, drug cartel leaders. They for $10, a drug dealer doesn't care if they kill somebody. For $10, they don't care. That in and of itself is evil. If you can commit an atrocity against a child, that is evil. What happened on that train to that young, Ukrainian refugee, Irina, is evil. 5,000 crimes by 68 people, and the system keeps letting them out. The system is evil. It's putting innocent people's lives in jeopardy. Not wanting to put them away, is beyond stupid to me. You're complicit at some point. And that's why I always said that Biden, Harris, Mayorkas have blood on their hands, lying to us for 4 years, saying, oh, no, the border's secure, the border's closed. Meanwhile, known terrorists, murderers, rapists, cartel members, gang members, other violent criminals, they let in. So my question to you is, this is something that has always been with us, exists today. You go through the history of it, and maybe it's worth going through some of that history and tying it to the events of today.
Every chapter, including Caligula, Henry VIII, Genghis Khan, ties into today. All the things that happened, and they did, influence the way we live. There's a reason the Cain and Abel story is in the book of Genesis. And that, by the way, the decline of theology and religion has made it a lot easier for the evildoers to prosper and to gain power. And 50 years ago in this country, we respected religion. Most Americans were part of it. Now, that is not true. Same thing in Western Europe. And that decline of judgment of what is good conduct and what is bad conduct has played into the hands of the Ayatollah, of Putin, of the Chicago people, all of that. But it is very important for individuals, and I don't give them a pass, Hannity, and I just want to make one more point about this Hitler-Mandani thing. Mandani, just like Adolf Hitler, the same thing, has told the people what he's going to do. It's not like Fidel Castro, who lied, or even Mao Zedong for a little bit. They lied. They deceived, okay? These people aren't deceivers. Mandani is looking at you saying, I do not believe in incarceration. I'm going to let out as many of these criminals that we have confined as I can. And that is going to lead to more murder, rape, assault, etc. And you're voting for that? You're voting for that? You want that?
I think we really need to put emphasis on this because, again, I think they're going to – I always predict where you're going to get hit when I interview you about your books. I think this is where they're going to go after you, and I want to be very clear what you're saying here because it's true. It is 100% true. By his stated policies – defund, dismantle, no bail idiocy, reimagine the police and send in the social worker idiocy. It is there are predictable consequences that we know will happen. We know innocent people will die. Innocent people will be raped. Innocent people will be victims of violent crime. Drugs will be more readily available. And people need to know ahead of time what they are voting for. Now, I'm pretty confident. I hope I'm wrong. I'm pretty confident looking at the New York Times Siena poll yesterday, this guy's going to win. And innocent people will be victims as a result of his stated policies. This defies all logic and all common sense to me. But yet, I don't know why it's appealing to so many people.
But if the debate became what we are talking about right now on the Hannity radio program, if that were the debate, Mandani would lose. But
I strongly disagree with you. If you were in that race, Bill O'Reilly, and you made that case as powerfully as you're making it here, I don't think it would impact the people of New York City. I think he'd beat you.
I have more faith than you do because
You think if you were running for mayor against Mamdani, you could beat him?
yes, I do.
You're delusional, but go ahead.
All right. Well, I may be delusional, but boy, oh boy, the message I would deliver would be so powerful. All right. And you couldn't avoid it. So right now, Mamdani's avoiding what we are talking about. All right. No, his supporters aren't even
He's
thinking.
not really avoiding it. He's saying it. I mean, he's just trying to moderate it somewhat to get elected.
What he's avoiding is the consequences of what he wants to do. So look, a guy like Putin, he knows what he wants to do. He wants to kill other human beings. He enjoys it. He's a psychopath, which is why Trump got caught so unaware, because Putin was not like that the first 4 years Trump was in office. Putin has changed because absolute power is a deterioration. You see it in all of these men. They get worse and worse and worse and worse. And now Putin is trying to provoke an even bigger conflict, okay? Now, Trump never anticipated that. He thought he was going to be able to reason with Putin. You can't reason with Putin now. So as you said earlier in this conversation, the only thing you can show to Putin and the Russian people is strength. That's what you have to show them. Now,
we're now moving to phase two, and what the Trump administration will do is they're gonna use all of their power and might and influence, and they're gonna bankrupt Putin. Putin's economy is entirely dependent on energy, and any country that does business with Putin is going to be punished severely. That's how it's going to go down. Very similar, very reminiscent of what Reagan did to the former Soviet Union, but we'll see. It doesn't mean there won't be a conflict. Doesn't mean that war. It's not a possibility that war can break out in Europe. Evil in that sense is predictable but unpredictable.
Right, and you have to be very careful, and this is Trump's dilemma, because I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, but I sincerely believe that Putin would use nukes if he's up against the wall.
I don't disagree with you, and I don't think Trump disagrees with you. There's a reason that he has to deal differently with Putin than he did with Iran, for example.
Right.
That's why preventing Iran from getting nukes was critical, and anybody that was against it is a moron.
Well, look, and then that gets us back to the essential conversation of the responsibility of the American people. All right? We all have a collective responsibility to try to tamp down the evil that we see. We are seeing it. You saw it on the bus in Charlotte. You see it on the south side of Chicago. You see it in San Francisco when the social order has completely broken down. You can't walk your kid to school because you see depravity on the streets, and the San Francisco authorities won't do anything about it. Pritzker won't do anything about it in Illinois. It is on and on and on and on. And we have to stop rationalizing. We have to start to say the progressive movement is not helping this country. All right? Now, I'm not going to label every progressive as evil. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to tell you, if your philosophy is don't punish criminals, then you are on the side of evil. That is the side you are choosing. There's no fear involved in America yet. There is fear in China. When I was in China in May, Mao Zedong's picture was all over the place. This is a guy who killed 20 million Chinese, starving them to death. His picture's everywhere. But if you're a Chinese and you say one word, you disappear. There's real fear in Russia. You go up against Putin, you'll get killed. He'll kill you. All right? So, but not in the United States. We're voting these people in. We're voting them in California, in Boston, in Charlotte. And you got to stop that. Fight against that. And that's what
I love your spirit, Bill. I do. But I at some point, you have to understand or accept that if your fellow citizens are going to vote for Gavin Newsom, I don't know if you saw the article today, all the money is raised out in California and going for DEI projects rather than rebuilding the homes for people that lost everything they own in the Pacific Palisades fires. They didn't have water in the hydrants, and they didn't have water in the reservoir. And, of course, they passed the buck. But there's been very few building permits that have been granted, 13,000 homes destroyed. There are people that are just accepting of it. And people with common sense have voted with their feet. There's a reason I left New York. There are reasons. There's a lot of them. A lot of them we're discussing. There's reasons that people are leaving California, New Jersey, and Illinois. And people have just decided they can't overcome, the radicalism of their neighbors, and they'd rather just pick up and go to a place that shares their values, and they're doing it in massive numbers.
Perfectly understandable. But my thesis is that I'm trying to awaken the sleeping giant of good. I believe that America is a noble nation. I believe it because I know it to be true. We have freed billions of people all over the world. Our blood and treasure went to freeing human beings on the other side of the world. The Japanese people are free because of us.
Quick break. We'll come right back. More with Bill O'Reilly. His new book out today. It's on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores around the country. It's Confronting Evil, Assessing the Worst of the Worst. You need to understand this history of evil. It's critical to understand the events today. More with Bill on the other side as we continue.
Up next, our final roundup and information overload hour.
All right, our final moments with Bill O'Reilly. His new book out today. It's on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores around the country. It's called Confronting Evil, Assessing the Worst of the Worst.
That Charlotte thing, that opened a lot of eyes, Hannity.
I hope so, but you know what? There was a primary yesterday, and this information had been out there. Guess who won, Bill? That dopey mayor.
In Charlotte?
Yep, won the primary. The one that said we should have compassion for the perpetrator.
Yeah, I don't know the local situation down there. I don't know what the machine is. I do know that there are a lot of people who don't pay attention to anything anymore because of the cell phones and the computers. And they're losing themselves in a false world where they can't make any decisions about anything worthwhile. But I really believe that majority of Americans are good people. They don't want evil. But now we have to mobilize them, Hannity. They got to start to stand up. You're not going to see it everywhere. I think if Pritzker ran for re-election tomorrow, Illinois probably vote him in again. All right.
Same with Newsom. Same with Newsom. I just do not have a lot of faith that New York City would vote against Mamdani. It's possible. Mr. O'Reilly, appreciate your time. I know we kept you longer than we usually do. It was certainly worth our time and the audience's time. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, Sean. You're very kind to do this, and it's a very important book and message. Thank you again.
Thank you. 800-941-SEAN is our number. You want to be a part of the program. More and more hackers, they're turning to AI. They're creating these sophisticated scams. Cyber criminals can create false identities, bypass security measures, much, much more, all thanks to developing technology. Now, if you ever receive unexpected communication asking for your personal information, please be sure to check out the source. Never, ever click on a suspicious link. You must understand, it is critical to understand how cybercrime, identity theft are impacting all of our lives. And lots of places, by the way, can expose your personal information without you even knowing it. Now, that's why you need LifeLock.com. LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second of every day for any risk to your identity. Loans taken out in your name. They will alert you. Crimes committed by thieves that pretend to be you. If, God forbid, you're a victim of identity theft, and many Americans are, you will get a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist that will fix it for you, guaranteed. I know that they mean it because my next-door neighbor was a victim. They had LifeLock. LifeLock handled all of it. Anyway, right now you'll get 40% off your first year if you go to LifeLock.com, mention my last name, Hannity, or call 1-800-LifeLock. Again, mention my name, 1-800-LifeLock, LifeLock.com, promo code Hannity, 40% off today. All right, when we come back, we'll hit the phones. 800-941-SEAN is our number.